Guys, the Nintendo Switch is in the midst of a crisis. Like, it's on the Switch.
Back in April, which feels like a lifetime ago, it was announced that the revolutionary shooter Crysis would be getting a remaster on July 23rd for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. This was a big deal, because it felt like Crysis disappeared after the third game released in 2013. I was actually hoping we'd get remasters of the trilogy released earlier on this generation, especially considering these games are graphical powerhouses. The first Crysis in particular released in 2007 only for PC, and back then it was irrefutably the best looking game of all time. It looked so amazing that even the most powerful PCs today can barely handle it. Because it's unoptimized. Hell, I was trying to record my own footage of the PC version, but the game refuses to open up for me on Steam. Talk about PC Master Race. That's why I was excited for Crysis Remastered. I was going to pick it up on PC purely for its optimization. But then, something weird happened.
Earlier this month, Crytek was going to reveal the first gameplay trailer for Crysis Remastered, but then the trailer got leaked the night before it was supposed to come out, and a bunch of fans got angry at it, claiming it didn't look good enough. So then the trailer reveal was scrapped completely, and then Crytek put out a statement saying that they're going to delay the game to make sure that it lives up to the expectations. So as a result, the game was delayed on every platform, except the Switch. What?
If you're a Switch owner, you would know that this never happens. At all. Usually, if any third-party port is going to get a delay, it's the Switch port. But this is the first time in history where a game gets delayed on every console except the Switch. And to top it all off, this is a port of Crysis, one of the most graphically demanding games of all time. That said, it's a 2007 game that's since been ported to Xbox 360 and PS3, so a Switch port is not too crazy of an idea. So instead of asking, can the Switch run Crysis, we should be asking, how well can the Switch run Crysis? And lucky for you, I have the answer. To figure out how well the Switch port stacks up against the other versions, I wanted to compare it to the original PC version and the later released Xbox 360 version. Trying to turn on my PC port was a bust, so I just decided to boot up my digital 360 copy. This port came out in 2011, and it's a more fair comparison to the Switch version as they both have similar enhancements, but are not the same build. And since I'm playing the 360 version on an Xbox One X, it does eliminate some of the frame rate problems, so it does have an advantage there. Even then, I prefer the Switch version to the 360 one, because yes, it is portable, but the colors and lighting look more natural on Switch, and it doesn't look as pixelated as it does on 360. However, the 360 port does have better textures and cutscenes, whereas the Switch can look blurry at times. Though I've noticed that the captured footage of this game does not do it justice. You really have to see how it looks on your TV or in portable mode on your Switch, because it seems that capture cards combined with YouTube compression make the game blurrier than it actually looks. I've seen this on other YouTube videos too, and it's a strange phenomenon.
While the Switch port of Crysis is solid, it's not perfect. It is far from perfect. Along with the performance issues, I've also ran into some strange glitches. Like when I was driving, I ran into a bunch of invisible boxes, and I also saw a room that seems to be torn between space and time.
The story of Crysis is set a whopping 2 weeks into the future, where you play as Nomad, a soldier equipped with a high-tech exosuit that allows him or her to run at high speeds, turn invisible, become bulletproof, and throw things. Anyway, Nomad and a team of other exo-soldiers are sent to the Lingsan Islands in the Philippines to investigate hostile North Korean activity. They're not doing a very good job at wearing masks and social distancing, though. Come on, guys, it's 2020. Obviously, the writers weren't trying to tell a groundbreaking story in Crysis. It's your run-of-the-mill first-person shooter campaign, with the main threats being North Korean soldiers and aliens. It's nothing special, but the main draw of Crysis is the gameplay and the graphics. Each level is open-ended, allowing you to tackle objectives in any direction you please, like swimming underwater to surprise a group of enemies. That is, if their superhuman senses don't detect you first. Yeah, the AI in this game is a mix of hyper-aware and downright stupid, making stealthy approaches almost impossible to pull off. Even in other Crysis games, I've always found the cloak to be useless, because shooting an enemy with or without a silencer disables it unless you have a bow and arrow equipped, and that's only in Crysis 3. It's more handy to use the cloak when making a clean getaway or unleashing a surprise attack. Because of this, I used armor the most to better resist enemy fire, but even with that equipped, you can't play this game like Doom or Wolfenstein. As much as you'd want to feel like a badass with an exosuit, you have to be smart in how you use cover and the suit's energy, otherwise you will die. And I've died a lot. Even on the normal difficulty, Crysis is a punishing game, mostly because when you get caught and enemy reinforcements come in, they surround you and pummel you with bullets. It's times like this where the game reaches peak frustration, but at least it's generous with checkpoints and the loading screens are short. Speaking of, the biggest flaw Crysis has is its length, clocking in at roughly 6 hours. And to me, it actually felt shorter than that. It's still a fun game to replay every now and then, but the short length is disappointing, even for the $30 price tag.
Oh, I also forgot to mention that this port has gyro controls. I missed them in the BioShock collection, but it's here in Crysis, and... meh?
Gyro aiming is turned on automatically when you start playing, and I was surprised to find that out when my camera just started moving without me using the right stick. Truth be told, I only like gyro aiming when I'm aiming down the sights with the weapon, not all the time. Ironically enough, in this game, it's even worse when you're aiming down the sights, so I just turned it off completely. In conclusion, don't buy this game. I'm just kidding. I enjoyed my time with Crysis Remastered on the Switch, but I have to say, it is not a game for everyone. You might have seen some trailers for this and assumed it would be a run-and-gun type game like Doom, but it's mostly a cover-based shooter with open-ended level design. Also, it's a game from 2007, an experimental game at that, meaning its mechanics are not as refined as other titles in its genre, or even Crysis 2 and 3, which I hope also get remastered for current-gen consoles and the Switch. They ran on Xbox 360s and PS3s, they can run on Switch, don't try and tell me otherwise. So in real conclusion, Crysis Remastered is a flawed, yet fun experience for the Nintendo Switch that's sure to make first-person shooter fans happy. If what you saw here already excited you, then the game will excite you even more.
I will say though that I think $30 is a bit too much for this game. I would have rather spent $20 or even $25 because I am in the midst of a financial crisis. That's not a joke, I'm actually really poor.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you're new to know when I upload another video. I'd also like to thank my Patreon supporters, Justice 2 Free, Stephanie Ferris, Smash JT, and Sean Long. But in the meantime, this has been FerrisWheelPro, and I will see you all on the next ride.